We've all heard it. They're just lazy. I wish I could just be lazy. But what if I told you laziness doesn't actually exist? This isn't about motivational slogans. It's about understanding the deeper truth behind our behaviors. We often mistake inactivity for laziness. We assume a lack of action reflects a lack of motivation or character. However, this simplistic view ignores the complex interplay of factors that influence our actions. Our brains are wired for survival, not endless productivity. Rest and downtime are not signs of weakness. They are essential for our well-being. It's time we challenge this harmful myth and embrace a more compassionate understanding of ourselves and others.
The concept of laziness has a long and loaded history. In earlier times, idleness was often associated with sinfulness, a rejection of hard work deemed morally wrong. This moralistic view laid the groundwork for laziness to become a social stigma. The Industrial Revolution further cemented this idea. With the rise of factories and mass production, productivity became paramount. Those who couldn't keep up were often labeled as lazy, their struggles reduced to a character flaw. This narrow definition of productivity persists today, fueled by hustle culture and the relentless pursuit of achievement. We are bombarded with messages that equate our worth with our output, leaving little room for rest, reflection, or simply being.
Psychology offers a more nuanced perspective on why we might struggle with motivation or productivity. Conditions like depression, anxiety, and ADHD can significantly impact our energy levels and executive function. Burnout, a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by prolonged exposure to overwhelming stressors, is another factor often misconstrued as laziness. It's not simply a matter of being tired. It's a deeper depletion of our resources.
Socially, we are exposed to a constant stream of messages that reinforce the myth of laziness. Social comparison, fueled by social media, can make us feel inadequate if we're not constantly achieving or doing.
The label of lazy can have devastating consequences. It can lead to self-doubt, shame, and feelings of inadequacy. These negative emotions can further erode our motivation and make it even harder to take action. Consider the student labeled as lazy because they struggle to focus in a traditional classroom setting. Perhaps they have an undiagnosed learning disability or are simply not engaged by the material. Or the employee who is constantly criticized for not working hard enough, when in reality they are dealing with a demanding family situation or a chronic illness. Labeling them as lazy ignores their struggles and perpetuates harmful stereotypes.
Our society often conflates busyness with productivity and worth. We see people rushing from one task to another, constantly engaged in work, and we equate this with success and value. We are conditioned to believe that we must always be on, constantly striving for more. The digital age has only amplified this, with emails, messages, and notifications demanding our attention around the clock. This relentless pressure can create the illusion of laziness, making us feel like we are never doing enough, even when we are pushing ourselves to our limits. The constant comparison to others' seemingly endless productivity can exacerbate these feelings. The fear of being perceived as lazy can drive us to overwork and neglect our well-being. We push ourselves to meet unrealistic expectations, often at the cost of our health and happiness. We may take on more than we can handle, sacrifice sleep and self-care, and ignore our body's signals for rest. The cycle of overcommitment and exhaustion becomes a norm, leading to diminishing returns in our productivity. This can lead to burnout, exhaustion, and a host of other physical and mental health problems. Chronic stress and fatigue can impair our ability to function effectively, both at work and in our personal lives. It's time to challenge these societal expectations and redefine what it means to be productive. True productivity should encompass balance, well-being, and sustainable effort, rather than constant busyness. We don't have to be busy all the time to be valuable members of society. Embracing rest, leisure, and self-care can enhance our overall productivity and quality of life, allowing us to contribute meaningfully without sacrificing our health.
Haupt, Section 6, Work Culture, Breeding Ground for Burnout, Not Laziness. Many workplaces perpetuate the myth of laziness through unrealistic expectations, long hours, and a lack of support for employee well-being. These environments often demand more than what is humanly possible, pushing employees to their limits without considering the long-term consequences. This can create a toxic environment where people feel pressured to work themselves to the bone even when they are struggling. The constant pressure to perform can lead to severe mental and physical health issues, making it difficult for employees to maintain a healthy work-life balance. Burnout is rampant in such environments. It manifests as chronic fatigue, cynicism, and a sense of inefficacy, which can severely impact both personal and professional lives. Employees are often expected to be constantly available, even outside of work hours. This expectation can lead to a never-ending cycle of stress and exhaustion, making it hard for employees to disconnect and recharge. The lines between work and personal life become blurred, leading to increased stress and a diminished sense of well-being. This lack of boundaries can strain personal relationships and reduce overall life satisfaction. A healthy work culture recognizes the importance of work-life balance, provides reasonable workloads, and encourages employees to prioritize their well-being. Such environments foster a sense of community and support, making employees feel valued and respected. This not only benefits the employees, but also leads to increased productivity and job satisfaction. When employees are happy and healthy, they are more likely to be engaged and committed to their work, driving the organization towards success.
Section 7. Reframing Productivity. Embracing our unique rhythms. True productivity is not about working ourselves to exhaustion. It's about working smarter, not harder. It's about understanding our own unique rhythms and finding ways to optimize our energy and focus. Some of us are most productive in the morning, while others hit their stride later in the day. Some thrive in structured environments, while others prefer flexibility. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to productivity. Instead of forcing ourselves to conform to arbitrary standards, we need to discover what works best for us as individuals. This may involve experimenting with different work styles, setting boundaries, and prioritizing self-care.
Section 8. Cultivating Compassion. Understanding the why behind inaction. When we encounter someone who seems lazy, our first instinct should not be to judge but to understand.
Instead of jumping to conclusions, let's ask ourselves, what might be going on beneath the surface? Perhaps they are dealing with a hidden disability, a personal struggle, or simply a lack of support. Maybe they haven't found their passion, or they are burned out from constantly trying to meet unrealistic expectations. By approaching others with empathy and curiosity, we can create a more compassionate and supportive environment where people feel safe to ask for help and prioritize their well-being. This requires a shift from judgment to understanding, from criticism to curiosity.
Hacked. Section 9. A call to action. Rethinking laziness and embracing empathy. It's time to retire the word lazy from our vocabulary and replace it with a more compassionate and understanding perspective. The term lazy often carries a negative connotation that unfairly labels individuals without considering their unique circumstances and challenges. We must challenge the societal norms and workplace cultures that perpetuate this harmful myth. By doing so, we can foster environments where people feel valued for their contributions, regardless of how they may differ from traditional expectations. Let's start by examining our own biases and assumptions about productivity and success. Reflect on how these beliefs shape our interactions and judgments of others. Are we holding ourselves and others to unrealistic standards? Consider the impact of these expectations on mental health and overall well-being. Are we prioritizing busyness over well-being? It's essential to recognize that constant activity does not equate to meaningful productivity. By embracing a more holistic view of productivity, one that values rest, self-care, and individual differences, we can create a more supportive and fulfilling world for everyone. This approach encourages a balance between work and personal life, promoting a healthier and more sustainable way of living. This is a call to action, a plea for empathy, and a reminder that we are all in this together. By supporting each other and recognizing the value in diverse approaches to productivity, we can build a more inclusive and compassionate society.